Hi beauty babes, welcome back to my channel. My name is Martha and this is Martha's makeup, obviously. Yes, I can say welcome back now because it's the second video. Ha! Woohoo! What we're going to do in today's video is we're going to learn how to do a cut crease in a really easy, foolproof way, because I know that is the trend now. Everyone's doing cut creases. Every single beauty guru is like, that's a go-to makeup look. And it's not always that easy to do, especially if you are a beginner. So I'm going to show you a really quick and really easy way to do it. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you learn something as well, educational. And if you do struggle to have that perfect cut crease, and if you do want to learn how to do it in a really easy, quick way, if you want to do a quick makeup look with a cut crease in 15-20 minutes, then keep on watching. So yes, the first thing we're going to do obviously was to prime. My face is already primed with Paese Hydrate Base, which I absolutely love and it smells so good. So after priming, obviously it's time for foundation. I'm using today the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless 103. So I'm just going to pick something up on my, well, if I still have something left, on my beauty sponge and just tap it into the face. Remember what we said about putting on foundation. Tap it to get the perfect coverage. Do not smear it in, do not swipe, do not brush. Just tap it in so you have the best pigment possible and the best coverage possible. And now it's time for concealer. Obviously, what I'm going to use today is my all-time favorite go-to concealer. So it's Brightening concealer from Paese as well, in the shade 01 Light Beige. So we're going to put it in the under the eyes, and a bit here. Yes, and what we want to do is just tap it in as well. Next step, obviously, we need to set that face so nothing moves around when we get on with our day, basically. So I'm using the Paese Rice Setting Powder. And first I'm going to set the under eyes. And then we're just gonna move on to the rest of the face. I kind of feel like so many people just forget this step and or just don't really do it. And honestly, if you want your makeup to stay in place all day, setting is like essential, because there are so many people, especially people who only start doing makeup or just do makeup on everyday basis and don't really get into it as much. Don't use setting powder and then the makeup at the end of the day. Obviously, during your day you work, you go to school, or you just do a lot, you sweat probably a bit as well, and it just, at the end of the day, the makeup is just like damaged. Like it just looks so bad and it's all like all over the place. And honestly, it's enough to set it with a setting powder, with a good setting powder, and the foundation and the concealer are going to stay in place, so your face is not going to look red and sweaty and patchy and disgusting. And you honestly, you don't really need like a 24-hour amazing foundation whatsoever. Any foundation works better after you set it. So remember, please, about that. I'm just gonna quickly do my brows off camera and one eye maybe, I'll see. And then we're gonna get on to the actual topic of today's video. So we're gonna do the cut crease. Yes, so see you in a second. Ta-da! I'm back. So that is the look that we're going to do today. Really nice, really nice cut crease with a nude matte cut crease with a bit of color underneath, because obviously I cannot live without some color. It's always, every time I go for, oh, let's go for a simple nude look today, bang, rainbow. That's just what happens, guys. It's just me. It's fine. So yes, that's what we're going to do today. So the first thing we want to do is obviously prime. Yes, thank you very much. So I'm using the NYX eyeshadow base. What you want to have for the cut crease, I can already tell you that. You want to have not an eyeshadow base to do it, but a concealer, because we need that coverage and we need that pigment to actually see the effect of a cut crease. Yes. So do not, that is actually a thing that surprisingly a lot of beginners do. So they are trying to cut the crease either with like an eyeshadow base or like an eye glitter glue, something like that. And no, it's actually a lot easier to just cut the crease with a concealer that has a lot of pigment to it and a lot of just coverage, so it's actually visible. So it's the same concealer that you would put on underneath your eyes or whatsoever. I'm actually not going to use the Paese one that I used underneath my eyes, because I've got one that is better for cutting the crease. You want it to be sticky as well, a little bit wet, so it's not completely matte, so the shadows actually stick to it. So what I will be using is this no-name fantastic old concealer that I've got. That is, God knows what brand. I believe it's Maybelline. I think I already said it, but I'm not really sure. So anyway, I'm gonna be using that because it's like, it's more of a liquid form, as you can see, yeah, it's high coverage and it's sticky. So find yourself a concealer and use that when you want to cut the crease. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to start by drawing the shape of the cut crease that we want. So never mind if you want to have like a rounded cut crease, or if you want to have like the one that I've got today, like a bit of a cat eye. Always draw the shape first. Always start with the darkest shadow that you want. So some people start with black or dark blue or dark purple, whatsoever. It depends on the colors you want to go. I'm going obviously quite nude today, so I'm going to be using the Zulu palette from Juvia's Place and the dark brown shade that is right here. Or you also want a really small brush to start. Can you see that? I don't think you can. Anyway, you want to use a really small brush for that, so you can be precise when you're drawing that first darkest line. And don't worry about the blending yet, just put that shape that you want first, and then we are going to blend with the lighter shadows. So I'm taking a bit on my brush and I'm starting to draw that shape that I want. Remember to actually go a bit high, unless you've got a really nice, like, big eyes, but I don't. So I always go a bit higher than my actual crease, so my eyes seem like bigger afterwards. So yes, just draw that shape. Don't worry about any blending. Just make sure to get that pigment in, because this is going to be the darkest shade. And this is going to define the crease, and we are going to blend it afterwards. So it needs to be quite visible, quite pigmented. Still always start with the darkest shade to just get that shape. I use a shade a bit lighter than the shade that you just used. Just make sure it's not the lightest yet, because we're gonna do it, like build it up gradually, if that makes sense. So I'm going to be using the shade Katsina from the Saharan by Juvia's Place as well. And I'm just tapping my brush in it, and I'm starting to blend really slightly just the edges of that shape that we just drew. Just make sure you are not actually blending the entire shape out. You just go a little bit higher, so you still have got that shape, but the edges, just the edges, are a bit more blended. And last but not least, we are taking the lightest shade that we want to have on our eye. So for me, it's going to be shade from James Charles / Morphe palette, but I have no clue what it's called. It's just going to be that, that light brown. It's almost like a skin tone, and I'm taking it on a bigger fluffy brush and just puffing the edges just a tiny little bit, so it looks like a cloud again. Just the edges, really slight moves. Really don't like push your brush too hard against your skin. Really slightly. Yes. And now to the actual work. So we're taking that concealer and oh, great. I just stained myself, never mind. So we're taking that concealer and we're taking a flat, rounded brush. Flat and rounded, remember. The smaller the better, actually, because you can be more precise with it and kind of work in those corners and get the shape that you want. So flat and small, and preferably rounded instead of like square. And actually a really good thing to do if you are going for like a colorful cut crease or a cut crease that you just use more shades so they can kind of, you know, fall down a little bit. So a really good thing to do is actually take that brush first, use a bit of like a spray that you use when you are taking your makeup off, whatever it is called in English. And remember, I'm foreign. I'm not really, you know, I'm just pretending to be English. So anyway, yes, a really good thing to do is just take that brush and spritz it a little bit, spray it, spritz it, spray it, do something with it, and kind of clean that shape a little bit that you want before you go in with a concealer, before we go with anything. Just clean it from the fallout shades that you might have. I'm not going to do it now just because I'm only using like brown colors and it's not really that much of a mess. But if you do have a little bit of a mess, it's really good to kind of just go in and clean it up before you go in with the concealer, because then the shadows are going to look really pigmented and it's not going to be as messy, if that makes sense. So we're going to take a little bit on the brush and we're going to start cutting the crease. Just remember to draw the shape again, the shape first. Stick to the shape that you already drew with your darkest shadow, if that makes sense. So do not cover that darkest shadow, just go to like the inner edge of it, and that's where you stop cutting the crease. Like do not, so you don't really cover the entire dark shadow, because it's there, so it's visible, obviously. Okay, so that is the crease cut for you. Fantastic. And remember that if you feel that you like your concealer just kind of went somewhere it shouldn't be going, basically, you can always go back with that small first brush that you used to put the darkest shade in. Do not put any more shades on it, just use the excess that you've got on the brush already, and you can kind of go around that crease that you already cut you can kind of follow that shape that you already had before and darken the edges a little bit more so it's a bit more defined, if that makes sense. So remember, if you made a mess, you can always fix that like that. Just don't just don't put any more shade on it, just use what's already on the brush, if that makes sense. And now what we're going to do is we are going to use the Huda Beauty Nude palette, and we're going to use the shade Play just on a flat brush, and we're just going to, that shade is actually just almost the shade of my skin tone. As you can see on this eye, it's like it has a little bit of like a pink undertone to it, but it's basically like my skin tone, so it's not really visible. But you just want to set that crease so it doesn't get creased, actually. So you just fill that entire shape that you just drew the inside of it with that shade, so that really light matte pinkish, yeah, a bit pink shade with a flat brush. You just set the entire eye. So I would really like you to let me know in the comments what problems do you have when you are trying to do the cut crease, and what challenges do you kind of find when you're trying to do that look. So maybe I can just help you guys. We are trying to be a family here. We're trying to build a community. So I really hope that you guys let me know. What do I want to do next? We're going to put a bit of that liner. We're going to draw that little cat eye that I don't really hate with that look, but normally I would. So we're just going to draw that and then pop the blue on the bottom, and yeah, then just pop a lash on and we are basically done. There we go, those are both eyes all complete. If you may, I really need to like work on my posing skills. Anyway, so the last but not least, we are going to obviously add some shape to that face and some depth, if you may. I'm using the Inglot Bronzer again. Obviously the blue shade is also from the James Charles palette, if anyone was wondering. And remember to always go a bit higher than your actual cheekbone. Yes, so that is a look for you, all complete, you guys. I hope you enjoy it. And I hope you loved it as much as I do. I really do hope that I helped you with some of your cut crease struggles. And it's going to be a bit easier for you now. Remember, it's all about practice. And remember that the most important rule is nobody's makeup is ever perfect. If it's a bit weirdly shaped, or if it's a bit uneven, don't worry about it. People are not going to notice, honestly. Like, I can honestly see that my eyes right now are not really even, but I just don't care. I really think that that look turned out really good, and I'm really glad that you guys watched me. Please, 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 if you enjoyed it, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and to subscribe to my channel. It's just one click for you, and it's a massive, massive help for me. Join the Beauty Babes family, join that supportive community that we are trying to build, and yeah, and make sure to let me know in the comments what other struggles with cut creases, or what other struggles with makeup in general do you have. So I'm gonna try and maybe film a next video on some of your actual issues. And yeah guys, thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.